Hi, Katie. Hi, Kate. Okay, I think we're recording. I think we're going to begin. So it's good to see so many of you. Hope all is going well your way. And again, brief agenda today. We'd like to hear from Colette. We have a poll for you. We'd like to get some support coaching from Callista, hear updates from IHEP. And then we'll do a quick around the horn to see where everybody is. And then finally, as always, are there any areas you could use support from either the Center for Student Success or from IHEP after we do the round robin? So, Callista, I'm going to turn it over to you and just thanks everybody for being here. And Callista, thank you for all of your work leading up to today.
No problem. Let me make sure I'm not muted. Okay. So again, thank you all for participating, and I am just going to do a short brief on what's needed for the February 28th reporting for degrees when due, because I know that as a big item for you. I've started learning a lot of your names, but if you're new or we haven't connected before, you're welcome to just put your name and institution as your Zoom name. That's helpful, but I know a lot of you have been on this call for a while, but I just want to give that option for you, and that'll help me make sure I'm connecting the dots. But I've started to get to know you guys after a little bit of over a year here. Um, so I'm going to just go ahead and dive in. And you may remember this from February last year, right before the pandemic, when we were explaining what this first phase is in terms of getting data. Some of you have already gotten towards this. You've started doing degree audits, you started reaching out to students, but the basics and the data that we want you to report in February 28th is what was your stop out pool and what was your universe of interest. And I'll go through what those terms mean just as a highlight, and also highlight for you that the identifying students module is where you get the information to get through these steps, not just for reporting, but to actually conduct the work. So the items in the project policies are really important. Data sharing is very good for the institutional research piece. Some of it is pretty high level, and the data mining is really critical to make sure you get the right universe of interest and your reporting details for February 28th. So here's it's I'm not a graphic artist, but this is a little bit of a visualization um, of what is due February 28th and essentially the steps that have happened between now to get to the data you report on February 28th. So you should be running or have run your total stop outs with degrees, without degrees, submitted that data to the National Student Clearinghouse, been able to say, okay, here are the students who were served elsewhere. Either they're still enrolled, and maybe at some time later you want to consider them for reverse transfer, or maybe they enrolled and finished somewhere else. And then on the left side, your re-engagement potentials. And that is the source of your universe of interest once you are able to take out those who don't have a passing GPA or your credit threshold. We recommend 45 semester credits. So that's just a visual of how the metrics align to the process. If you have any questions about that, let me know, put it in the chat. But hopefully people are pretty much on the same page that that's the first part. And of course, anybody who's been further in the process, that is fine. Okay, so now we'll get ready for our poll. So I'll just show our poll questions, but then they're going to pop up. So Jake, if you could release the first poll and let me know if I need to change anything here. So we want to know, is your institutional research specialist involved in your project team? Um, if they've been involved in Degrees when Due and they're helping you get the data. How many of you have already gotten your list to the National Student Clearinghouse? Then as you progress, how many of you have already done your universe of interest? Um, and then if you've done your universe of interest, if you have what you need to submit to box.com, or even if you're still waiting on some pieces, do you have, if you're the person reporting, the information you need to box.com? And then how many feel like they're in good shape for reporting for February 28th? So if you complete that poll, we'll give you another minute here. That'll help me tailor some areas to focus on. So if I know everybody's good with their institutional research person, then I won't need to go into depth with that. And then if there's other pieces, we can address that.
I think we have, I may be mistaken, but I think we have 5 of our community colleges on the line. And we're at 4 of 9. So just one more. Unless I am mistaken, then we only have 4 colleges on the line today. There we go. 5 of 5. Did we miss anybody?
Okay.
All right. I'm going to hit the end poll here. All right. Here we go. Share results.
Okay. So most of you are set with the first steps and getting people on board. And I'll make sure even those who are unsure to just kind of make sure I don't gloss over that too fast. Um, and then, yeah, you guys look like you're in pretty good shape. I will make sure to show you where to get to box.com. And you guys look like you're good for reporting. I see a question in the chat. About hey, you've submitted your report, was wondering when you might expect feedback. So I know that the research team will be combing over submissions for data checks or data validation in over March. So if they have any questions about that, they'll follow up with you. If they don't have any issues or questions about what you submitted, then you're all set. And then they're going to put together a national report at some point. Knowing that some people may trickle in and there'll be some negotiation in terms of that reporting. It may be April or May before that report is due. Um, but if there's any issues or anything next you need to do with that, you'll get some information probably in March with any questions that they may have. So thank you guys for doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to share the LMS. And for the sake of those who can't participate today, I'm going to do a cursory review of the key sessions in the LMS, enough to whet their appetite. And I will also highlight, and I'll send in the slides, that there is going to be a research team, open office hours where people can just drop in on February 18th, February 24th, and February 25th, and I'll highlight those times for anyone who's still having questions. And then, of course, you can still contact me. But some of the deep technology or research questions, sometimes it's good to get straight from the horse's mouth. So just to highlight, again, for anybody who's unsure or those who might be visiting the recording, and I'll post to you in the group if you think there's certain key points to highlight or where you had issues or challenges that we should highlight for others. So all of you, I believe, are in cohort 2. The cohort 2 and cohort 3 reporting modules are slightly different. So if for some reason your block says cohort 3 and not cohort 2, let me know and I can walk you through those differences. It's generally the same process in terms of getting the universe of interest overall, but in terms of the way the reporting metrics are set up are a little bit different. So most of the key information is in the identifying award eligible students module, which is in the learning path. And when you click on that, again, just the highlight of the work plan area. Some of this we've highlighted before. The project policies section is good for making sure you agree on your credit thresholds. Um, if you have residency requirements, credit residency requirements in terms of the credits that are earned at your institution compared to being transferred in. Those are policy decisions you can talk about and make in order to inform your universe of interest. And there's a reference guide link here in the block to support that. The data sharing block, or the data sharing part of the work plan, is good for institutional research and the team lead. And this is a lot of the definitions and some pieces about student privacy that are a good reminder, and just some nice tips of the process. For those who are in a rush, this is probably the part where you can skim over more. If you were doing the reverse transfer module, there's more detail in that section for those doing reverse transfer. Data mining is the big nugget in terms of how to report the data for the February 28th. So again, if anybody needs a refresher, or if your college has not yet done that, this is the area where it really walks you step by step. As you can see, it defines the metrics here, what metric 1 is. It gives you information about submitting to the National Student Clearinghouse. And just really walks you all the way through to setting up the universe of interest and making sure you're looking at the right criteria. So it's all in there. And really, I'd love to hear if people want to share in the chat what they found most helpful in the modules, or what was confusing, knowing that you were trying to get your universe of interest. And that way we can anticipate helping our brothers and sisters for reporting. So oh, it's switched. Let me go back. I'm going to go back to the LMS. So those are the major points. And again, feel free to share notes. Now, those of you who have already done your universe of interest, hopefully you've are starting the degree audit process. If you participated in the February 3rd reporting webinar, we had some people who were still new in the process who were a little bit confused. But because it started off essentially talking about this nugget of the degree audit and what eligible means compared to potential completers. So eligible students are those who have completed all the academic requirements, but for whatever reason, they were never awarded a degree. This could mean that they had a hold, a financial hold, or an outstanding fee. It could mean they never petitioned to graduate, if that's been a part of your process. So the degree audits is the next big frontier for you to determine who needs to be communicated about what academic requirements they're missing, and who needs communication about the opportunity to be awarded once you remove some of the other barriers. So this was a lot of what the February 3rd research and reporting webinar started with, and it also highlighted the tracking sheet. So I'm going to highlight that for you. If I can put my finger on it. I think I'm scrolling too fast, but that is a nice component, which is in the February 3rd webinar. So if you weren't able to join and you're like, hey, I'm good with my reporting, we're still working on degree audits, this is that February 3rd webinar may be a good point. If you're past degree audits, you're probably in a good shape. And the next big reporting milestone will be in July. But of course, in order to get students re-enrolled in the fall, for any of those people who are ready, or those who are eligible to get awarded, and it's oftentimes a critical point to do a lot of that work now, in case they want to participate in traditional commencement activities in May, or enroll for the summer, or enroll for the fall. So please continue to keep that drum beat going, even though the next big reporting isn't till July, if you've already gotten a lot of that going. Any questions or comments? I'm just looking here at my chat box. Okay. So I am going to switch my screen again and just highlight. These are the dates for research reporting help. It's focused on that February 28th deadline. I know one or two people are still unsure where their team is. So I would say if your team isn't prepared yet, having at least your institutional research person try to drop in one of these time slots will be helpful. And of course, I'm also here to assist. And my standard slide of how to get a hold of me that you have. So I'll still have the March 3rd session if you're thinking, okay, well, what next? We got through February 28th. What next? So that's all I had. Any other questions or comments for me or for your peers?
Callista, this is Megan Ally from Middlesex College. I have a question about what exactly is due on the 28th, because I know there were different cohort groups and I'm in cohort 2, but I thought I had more information. Is it only metric 2 that's due?
Yes, it's only
Go ahead.
the metric 1 through metric 2.
Okay.
1A, B, and C.
Yep.
I should also, and let me share this again. I should also share some of you. One thing that they tried to communicate, some of you started running your data set or got the state data set that didn't include the COVID-19 spring 2020 dropouts. So I want to go back to highlight. There's some information here about where to put that information, and they're calling it PC1. So if you're choosing to track the spring 2020 stop outs, if you added that, there is a post-COVID track. And if you go to your enrollments here on the left navigation, there's a post-COVID implementation metrics block. And it has just some direction about submitting that information. And it's just that PC1. If you had done all this big data set and you have the spring 2020 out separated out, you can put that in a separate block. So that's all that's due for the February 28th is that post-COVID metric and everything up to your universe of interest. Of course, if you don't want to like drink from a fire hose the rest of the semester, hopefully you've been getting through degree audits already, even though that's not required for reporting yet.
Thank you. I was just confused because I had a document from June where it looked as if, because I was a revised implementation track, that there might have been other reporting that had to be by the 28th. And so, no, this helps a lot that I'm
Yes.
sure.
And I did catch that error somewhere else, and
Okay.
I think they just corrected it last week. I think there was some paragraph language before they made it, and they were starting to talk about eligibles and degree
Yes.
audits, but that is not due at this time. So
Okay,
yeah,
great.
that's a good clarification. We've been trying to communicate. And if they do have questions after you've shared data, if they have any issues with anything you've reported in box.com, they will reach out to you, or they'll reach out to you and me, if anyone. So you don't have to keep checking box.com. But those who are unsure about box.com, there is some directions in the support section. I want to make sure I'm going to the right place on how to use box.com. If you can't remember your login, it can be reset. Karen Stovall from Utah can reset it for you. Just let me know and I'll put in a request to Karen to reset your password. So I know there were a couple who were unsure about your box.com access. And I'm sorry, I'm not where I should be. Okay. The research and reporting community block. So all your institutional research people, and probably if you're a team lead and you need access to that block, and there's probably another place, has information on box.com. So you can see this menu here on the left has that implementation portal instructions, and then you can click that link for anyone who needs help with box.com. All right. So thank you guys for your continued work. As we get into March and April, we'll start sharing more about what it's like as we're starting to hit the ground and communicate with students. I know Ocean has been ahead of the curve and has been doing some things. Some others have started to do outreach, but continuing to support each other and support you in implementation for the rest of the year will be important. So that's all I had. Anything else? Okay, Jacob, I will turn it back over to you.
Callista, thank you. Thank you so much for putting all of this together for us today and for your continued guidance and coaching for us. I wanted to, before we go around robin, I just wanted to share a couple quick updates with all of you, how it impacts not just the Adult Reconnect program, but this work as well, really all of our institutions. We have word that next week, many of you may know that the CCOG legislation was passed by both the Senate and the Assembly to make it a permanent program. With the floor of the income eligibility limit being $65,000 a year, household income eligibility, fall and spring semesters for financial aid, and also including the student support success grants that some of you may work on with OSHI and others. It's a pot of $5 million that's divvied up to the community colleges. That legislation was passed, I think it was before the holidays. And we have word that the governor has until next week to sign it. And he likes to take every bit of time he can to sign these things. We have word that next week he is going to sign said legislation into law. We don't know exactly when. We hear that it might be a public event or a semi-public event with COVID restrictions at one of our community colleges. I don't know which one, and I don't know exactly what time and day. These things are all in flux. And you never know, he might just do it privately if conditions don't permit, or at least do it and release something through his website that it's been signed. So I think I wanted to share that with you. That's critically important. Primarily because this program's been a political football for a few years, and we want to have that certainty that we can guarantee adults, students right out of high school, students of all ages, that the CCOG program is there for them. So I wanted to share that important update with you. Also, I shared in the chat for all of you to look at your leisure, a link to my friends in Oregon, a benefit of being in the Student Success Center network. My friend in Oregon worked with state officials to put together an adult learner engagement toolkit that is public on the State of Oregon website. So I put a link there in the chat for you folks to look at. Perhaps some of the ideas and concepts might be helpful to what it is you're doing in the Degrees When Do work, but also in other work you may be doing in outreach and onboarding to students. Wanted to share that particular example with you because, you know, when we first started this work, we envisioned doing something similar, creating two pieces of helpful information. One, a policy agenda that we could advance with the legislature and others to help support more adults to get on, stay on, and complete a path of post-secondary credential to community college. But then secondly, a toolkit for our colleges to assess them in all of this. And what we hope is that through all of your work, through the Degrees When Do initiative, this fall, that we can gather the learnings and the outcomes and the things that you folks were able to do that were successful and put them together into those two pieces, a policy piece, policy recommendation piece, and a toolkit for all the community colleges to use in New Jersey. So wanted to share that with you. And those of you who've been with us on this project from day one know that, you know, that was the initial goal statewide. And that's still the goal, to get those projects done, get those two deliverables done. So are there any questions across the board on either the CCOG legislation or the deliverables we're going to do at the Center for Student Success later this fall? So if it's okay, I'd like to just give everybody a quick minute or so. If you want to provide a quick update as to where you folks are on the Degrees When Do project, any and all updates that you would like to share with the group, that would be great. And we'll just go alphabetical by college. And I think we've got Peter, Tonya, and Jackie on from Bergen. Go ahead, folks. How are things going at Bergen?
Hello, everybody. Things are going very well. I have to say, we had a meeting just prior to this one to review where we are, the things that we have put in place, and we feel pretty good about being able to report out on the 28th. I'm happy to report. You know, again, this is a, you know, with the new president on board with Dr. Friedman, as you know, we're adjusting and you know, still working very hard to bring in the Flex 2 class, which starts on March 22nd. But we're good. We're on top of our what we call Project Graduation. That is looking at all the potential students that we have that can graduate just pass in December and January, as well as what we anticipate having in May. So we're good, I have to say. I'm very pleased that my fellow colleagues from Bergen are all engaged and on board, and we're doing the things that we need to do to report out. And, you know, that's where we are. We're good.
Great. Peter, thank you. Appreciate it. Tanya, how are things at Mercer? Before I turn the floor over to you, I just want to thank you and your colleagues at Mercer again for doing the national webinar for IHEP and Degrees When Do a few weeks ago. That was very well attended and it was terrific. And just thank you so much for sharing what you folks have been able to do with your onboarding and student advisement system online. And just a great example you set for New Jersey. And how well you represented us. So thank you. We may have lost LaTanya. Okay.
What did you say? Who did you call?
LaTanya
Not
Ashford
me.
at Mercer. She might be on another line. Big buildup, right? Okay. Megan, how are things going at Middlesex?
I would say at Middlesex, things are going very well. We, this past fall, late in the fall, we reached out to our universe of interest. We've been working with advising. We have an advising arm of our group, and we have a communication arm of our group, and we have a data arm of our group. And so the three have been working together to collect the information we need, track it in a way that we hope we'll be able to report in the future, and setting up pretty good processes, I think, for supporting the students that are re-enrolling. So I think things are going great, actually.
Megan, thank you very much. Appreciate the update.
Mhm.
Kate, how are things going at Ocean?
Hi, everything's going well. I submitted, so that was me that was asking all the questions about box.com because I wasn't sure if I should be checking in there every day, but it doesn't sound like I need to do that. We have a really good thing going with advising and with having people to actually reach out to the students, because we found that that has been the single deciding factor. So, you know, as I reported probably a couple of meetings ago, we did send out communication, email communication through our text bot. We use AdmitHub as our chat bot, but the single most effective thing that we found so far has been that phone call. Even if someone doesn't answer, they are calling us back. So I think when I talked to the group in like November, I was a little worried because I think I was reporting like 5 or 6. It was really, really low.
Yeah.
So we're up to, at this point, we're up to 86, which is exciting.
Whoa.
And we're looking to increase that because there were students who, you know, they just spring felt too quick. It wasn't a good time. So we're hoping to actually increase that number for the summer for sure and get people in, because for some reason the 10-week summer term did not feel as daunting as a 10-week spring quick term. And the reason why I know that is because, you know, I've been going through the data and what students' responses have been, because we keep track of every student we reached, what the outcome was, their response to it, and what got them to want to take action. So it's been going really well. And I'm excited to continue, you know, reporting out to the group to see what summer does for us.
Kate, that's great. That's very promising. That's terrific. Thank you for sharing that update.
Sure thing. I was thrilled because, again, it was a slow start. And I think I literally said 6 at one of these meetings.
Yeah, I remember. It was
didn't
like
say
5 or
6, I was
6.
looking
Yeah,
at 6.
that's great. That's great. Thank you.
Thank
Carolyn, welcome from Raritan Valley Community College. Any updates you'd like to share with us on the Degrees When Due project at your institution?
So we are working on it. I've met with John Wheeler and Sarah Donnelly. So I know that Sarah and Min have been pulling reports and things like that, but we're a little bit behind from everyone else. But we're working on it, and we're trying to move forward. I know that we have done this in the past. Before Degrees When Due came up, this is one of the initiatives that we had done. And so we do have, you know, information from back then. And we're also doing, I don't know how many people else are including Robert Wood Johnson in with this group. Is anybody else? Jake, do you know what I'm talking about when I say Robert Wood Johnson, that group of students that are adults that are coming back?
The Barnabas partnership, right?
Yeah. Robert Wood Johnson, yeah, Barnabas.
So for those of you on the line, some of you may be working on this project, some of you may not. I may have mentioned this in an earlier meeting. I just don't remember. We have a pilot going on right now between Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas, RWJ Barnabas, and I believe it's 10 or 11 of our community colleges, those community college districts that have strong RWJ Barnabas presence. And basically, RWJ Barnabas came to us and said, hey, we want to create a pathway, educational pathway for our lower level employees so they can get credentials and degrees and get better jobs here at Barnabas. And so one thing led to another, and before we knew it, we had about 400 students interested. And from last I heard, there were actually 100 that were actually receiving CCOG. I think there might be as many as 200 students enrolled in the program. they're getting financial aid of some other form. That's the whole point of CCOG. It doesn't matter if they actually get the state scholarship. It matters that they get some form of financial aid because they completed their FAFSA. I think we have about 200 students right now in this pilot at the 11 colleges, mostly adults, mostly low-wage earners, all at RWJ Barnabas with the opportunity to get a credential and get a better job at Barnabas. So I think many of you on the line, your institution is participating in it, whether you're one of the folks working on the project or not, I'm just not sure. But it's promising because that's one of the things we'd like to be able to do with CCOG is really take it to large employers, mid-sized employers, even small employers, and let them know, hey, look, we know some of you can't afford to provide professional development and tuition reimbursement for your employees. Some of you do provide it. Well, the state is doing you a favor with this CCOG program. And hopefully it creates a reciprocal relationship where we can fuel employers' needs with their incumbent workforce. So, Carolyn, thanks for mentioning that.
Sure.
And Carolyn, if you and your team need any support or have any questions, Callista and I are here to help along the way.
So I reached out to Callista and she wrote me back. So now I'm just trying to get everybody organized because there's different people that are off right now. So as soon as people are all back, I'm going to reach back out to Callista to get a scheduled appointment.
Great.
Thanks,
Carolyn.
Callista.
No worries.
Carolyn, thank you for the update from Raritan Valley and thanks for joining us today. Let's see who else is on. I think last but certainly not least, hi Damon, hi Liz. How are things going at Union County College?
How you doing, Jake? Everything's well here. Hope the same for everyone else. I'm going to defer our report to Dr. Cooner because she knows far more than I do about the program. We're actually scheduled to meet with Callista, I believe, Friday. So I'll be caught up and then we can share some more information. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Cooner.
Thanks, Dr. Hargrove. And I apologize because I realized I wasn't muted. I hope that I wasn't making too much noise at my end earlier, but I did join you late when Dr. Hargrove looped me into the meeting. So thank you for that. So my team has worked with the data to identify the students who belong in this universe of interest. And we were delighted to see there were more than 1,100 students who satisfied the criteria. And we have already sent out some communications to those students to invite them to enroll. And we've worked with the registrar's office. So we've gone through the whole process of getting the National Student Clearinghouse data, identifying those who already are enrolled elsewhere. We've excluded them from the list and still we have all these students. So we think that they're real great candidates to try to get back into school. And before the semester even started, we did have some outreach efforts directed toward those students. I don't have a count of how many of them actually did enroll, but one, I didn't even know this meeting was happening today. I was not on this list. So I didn't know this was something I would need for today, but I will have it a little bit later, to know how many of them we actually were able to loop back in. But I do know that our registrar did start to go through some of these students who had so many credits accumulated, and through a very preliminary degree audit was able to start to identify that some of them already had satisfied the requirements for graduation as well. And so she's working with her team on that part of the work. So I wouldn't say we're too far along the process, but that we are working on it and really excited about it. It feels like really important work because students who have come this far in the journey, who have 45 or more credits and haven't completed, it feels like we really do need to kind of just find a way to encourage them to come back. So happy to be a part of these efforts and happy to let you know how it's going.
Thank you both for the update from Union County College and Dr. Cooner. We'll make sure you've got the invites and all the information going forward for the scheduled meetings coming up. I'll take care of that as soon as this meeting ends. I'll make sure you get the invites.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
No problem. Thank you for all of your work on the project. And Latanya has reported in the chat, nothing to report from Mercer, but just want to reiterate, just thank you so much, Latanya, for the work that you and your team did for that national webinar and representing New Jersey so well. We really appreciate it. So with all of the reports and everything we went over today, I just wanted to see if there's anything for the good of the order or any outstanding questions, comments, or concerns that any of you may have before we call it a meeting. Okay. Well, thank you all very much, and we'll see you, as we say in the fire service, we'll see you on the next one. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please reach out to me, reach out to Callista, and everybody be well. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.